It's a lovely day for racing here at Nürburgring, Sprint, GT, as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Marcus Singendonk is in Mercedes arena. There are just over 45 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 45 minutes left in this practice session. Jimmy Linfield is on their practice out lap. Dursun is getting to grips with the Mazda MX5 Cup in this practice session. Marcus Singendonk has a best lap time of 1:40.892. It's a lovely day for racing here at Nürburgring, Sprint, GT, as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Mol posted 1:41.020 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Linfield has a best lap time of 1:42.088. There are just over 40 minutes left in this practice session. With just 39 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. John Clark has a best lap time of 1:40.738. Jody Fannin is on their first practice flying lap. Patterson posted 1:41.103 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Moll has a best lap time of 1:40.650. John Astrop is on their practice out lap. Jody posted a 1:42.954 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 35 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 35 minutes left in this practice session. Jimmy Linfield has a best lap time of 1:41.527. Rich Snake posted 1:46.899 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 33 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Mustafa posted a 1:40.834 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Zach Butcher has a best lap time of 1:42.698. Jimmy posted 1:41.038 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 31 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. There are just over 30 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 30 minutes left in this practice session. Lindfield has a best lap time of 1:41.038. Jack Bedding has a best lap time of 1:40.801. Mustafa posted a 1:40.290 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? John posted 6:07.633 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 27 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. It's a lovely day for racing here at Nürburgring, Sprint, GT, as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. There are just over 25 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 25 minutes left in this practice session. Martin Moll has a best lap time of 1:40.118. Dom has a best lap time of 1:40.746. Snapes posted 5:40.267 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? John posted a 1:40.509 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Robert Cormack is on their practice out lap. Jimmy Lindfield has a best lap time of 1:41.038. Zach has a best lap time of 1:42.698. Dominic posted 1:40.432 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 20 minutes left in this practice session. Anthony posted a 1:41.457 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 19 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Astrop has a best lap time of 1:39.972. Nigel Walters is on their first practice flying lap. Jimmy Linfield posted 1:40.925 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Rich Snape has a best lap time of 1:40.576. With just 16 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Mustafa posted a 1:39.887 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 15 minutes left in this practice session. Robert Cormack has a best lap time of 1:42.793. John Astrop has a best lap time of 1:39.972. Cormack posted 1:42.793 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Zach posted a 2:52.115 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Anthony Hilton has a best lap time of 1:41.457. With just 11 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. John posted 1:39.952 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 10 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 10 minutes left in this practice session. Robert Cormack has a best lap time of 1:42.154. Jimmy Lindfield has a best lap time of 1:40.715. With just 8 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Jody posted a 1:41.003 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Jimmy posted 1:42.295 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Brian Patterson has a best lap time of 1:40.215. With just 6 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. Robert posted a 3:19.724 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Marcus Singendonk posted 140.454 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Jody Fannin has a best lap time of 1:39.915. With just 2 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Martin Moll has a best lap time of 1:39.465. Jody posted a 1:39.846 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Nigel posted 1:40.761 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 1 minute left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Dominic has a best lap time of 1:40.201. Jack Bedding has a best lap time of 1:39.894. Dominic posted 1:40.859 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Jack posted a 1:39.894 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? The anticipation is high as the drivers line up for the qualifying session at Nürburgring, Sprint, GT.
Let's see who's got the speed and the skills to take the pole position.
Jack Bedding is on their outlap. It's all about strategy in these early moments. Nigel is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right. The adrenaline is pumping. Jimmy Linfield is on their outlap, warming up the tyres and getting ready to put in a fast lap time. It looks like Glenn is getting ready to make their move. They're taking their time to warm up those tyres and get everything just right. You can feel the tension building. Nigel Walters is out on track and getting ready to push for their qualifying time. As Nigel completes their outlap, there will be HPOING. They have given themselves enough space on track to fully attack for their first flying lap. This is where the mental game comes into play. Brian has completed their outlap. Dominic Fovag is on their outlap. That's the outlap done for Dom. They'll now look to focus on their first flying lap. It's clear that Jack Senna is on a mission in this qualifying session. They're pushing their car to the limit.
It's always impressive to see a driver in the zone like this, Hal. Let's see if they can maintain this pace.
There are just over 5 minutes left in this qualification session. Knockoff Nigel has completed their first flying lap in 1:41.186. It's all Field has just completed a lap in 1:41.778. Let's see if they can improve on that time further. Jimmy Linfield is on their first flying lap.
Absolutely. Jimmy Linfield is showing the world what they're made of.
Linfield has just completed that lap in 1:41.016. Their best lap so far is 1:41.016, putting them in P9. Will they be able to hold on to that spot? The pressure is on in this qualifying session, but Rich is rising. Snape has completed their first flying lap in 1:40.825. This is what it's all about. Robert is putting on a show for the fans in this qualifying. Cormac has just completed a lap in 1:42.919. Let's see if they can improve on that time further. Looks like Glenn Field is channeling their inner Schumacher today. They're absolutely flying out there.
It's amazing what a little bit of adrenaline and a lot of horsepower can do, right, Hal? Glenn Field is just showing us all what they're made of.
Field has some work to do, as that 1:40.763 is only good enough for 7th. I think I just saw a blur fly by. Oh wait, that Jody Fannin will be happy having put themselves into 3rd in this qualifying session. I don't know about you, but I think Jimmy Linfield might have a secret rocket booster hidden in their car. Linfield has some work to do, as that 1:40.673 is only good enough for 6th.
There's still more time to be had, but I don't know if they are going to find it before the session is over.
The adrenaline is pumping. Zach is on there. As Butcher completes their outlap, they will be HPOING. They have given themselves enough space on track to fully attack for their first flying lap. It's all about strategy in these early moments. John Clark has completed their outlap. Someone call the fire department, because Jack is setting this track on fire with their performance.
Well, Hal, it seems like Jack Senna has got the need for speed, and nothing is going to stop them now.
Woohoo! Walters is really turning up the heat out there. I'm getting goosebumps just watching them go.
Looks like Nigel Walters is really cooking with gas out there today.
Time to bring out the marshmallows and let's toast some fuel. Walters has some work to do, as that 1:40.754 is only good enough for 8th.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure they can improve further on that.
Wow, look at Brian Patterson go. They're really turning on the jets in this qualifying session. Patterson has just completed that lap in 1:40.495. Their best lap so far is 1:40.495, putting them in P6. Will they be able to hold on to that spot? Currently in 5th, Moll has displayed promising speed during the qualifying session. The real Moll will be happy having put themselves into 4th in this qualifying session.
It may be difficult for them to improve further on that. Sometimes trying too hard makes you slower. They need to drive smooth and smart.
Not the ideal start for Knockoff Nigel in this qualifying session. Currently in 11th position, they'll be eager to put together a strong final lap to improve their standing. The pressure is on, and they'll need to deliver the best performance.
I completely agree, Hal. Nigel Walters is in a difficult position, but they have the opportunity to analyze their performance so far and make the necessary adjustments. It's all about regrouping and giving their best shot in the remaining time.
Walters has some work to do as that 140.303 is only good enough for 6th.
There's still more time to be had, but I don't know if they are going to find it before the session is over.
And there goes Patterson, currently in position 7. They've shown great skill and consistency so far, but with a few minutes left, Brian Patterson has some work to do as that 140.333 is only good enough for 7th.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure they can improve further on that.
A solid qualifying performance by Martin Mole, positioning them in 4th at the moment. The question now is whether they can make further progress and challenge the frontrunners. Martin Mole will be happy having put themselves into 2nd in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. I'm sure they can find a little extra in there.
Disappointing performance from Robert Cormack in this qualifying session. Currently in 16th position, they'll need to dig deep and find some extra speed to climb up the leaderboard and secure a better starting position for the race. Cormack has some work to do as that 142.662 is only good enough for 16th. It's been a struggle for Cormack in qualifying. As of now, they find themselves in 16th position, which is well below their expectations. However, motorsport is unpredictable, and there's still an opportunity for them to shine and move up the grid. You've joined us on a breezy day here at Nürburgring, Sprint, GT, as we're getting ready to get things underway.
The drivers are looking focused out there on the grid. I'm excited for this one, Hal.
Dominic Singendonk will be feeling confident starting from pole position.
But they can't let that advantage go to waste. They will need to stay focused and keep their eyes on the prize.
Martin Mole lines up in 2nd place as the engines rev and the race begins.
But they're going to have to be quick out of the blocks if they want to keep up with the top performers.
Lining up in 3rd is Mustafa Dursun.
A strong grid position, and they'll be expecting a solid result today.
As the drivers prepare to take off, Jody Fannin sits in 4th place on the starting grid.
Big things expected for Jody today.
John Astrop is going to be starting from 5th.
Let's see what John can do.
Our 6th place starter, Nigel Walters, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track. As the engines roar to life, Brian Patterson prepares to take off from the 7th position on the starting grid.
Patterson is going to show us something special, I'm sure of it.
On the 8th grid slot, we have Dominic Fauvar.
They've got the heart of a lion, and they won't back down from a challenge.
Jimmy Linfield is placed in 9th. Glenn Field will be looking to gain ground quickly as they start from 10th on the grid.
It's the Hards Tire compounds for Glenn.
Marcus Singendonk may not be starting from pole, but they're still in with a shot. Jack Bedding will need to be on top of the game starting from 12th on the grid.
Where can Jack finish today?
Starting from 13th on the grid is a bit of a mixed bag for Rich Snake.
We've seen great results from here. What has Rich got in store for us?
Zach Butcher has some work to do from 14th on the grid, but they're not out of the race yet.
Where can Butcher put that Mazda MX5 Cup?
John Clark is 15th. Sitting in 16th, it's Robert Cormack.
16th isn't going to be where Robert wants to be.
Lining up in 17th is Anthony Hilton.
It's looking bleak from 17th, but what has Anthony got to show us?
The starting flag has been waved, and the battle on the track begins. The opening lap is always intense, with drivers vying for an early advantage.
The opening lap is often a hotbed of potential problems. The ability to steer clear of any mishaps will set the stage for a successful race.
I can't wait to see how this race will play out. This is going to be one hell of a race. I can already feel it.
I'm looking forward to this one, Hal, and we'll see a return to form for Singendonk in this outing in Germany.
There's some intense battling throughout the field as everyone is looking to get off to a good start. Is there a better sight than a field of elite racing drivers battling for position? All the drivers will be trying to take advantage of the pack whilst they're still bunched up.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how this race unfolds.
Establishing an early advantage will be crucial to the outcome of this race.
Let's hope they all brought their A games today.
The pressure is on whilst the field is bunched. Who can keep their cool and take advantage? It's a solid performance from Jack at the moment. They're holding their position and not getting too caught up in battles around them.
Consistency is key in racing. Betting just needs to keep doing what they're doing and wait for opportunities to present themselves.
A brilliant maneuver from Jack Senna, who has just moved up the field. It looks like Marcus Singendonk is all over Rich Snape. I think they're going to press them through Yokohama S and try and press for a mistake.
For sure, Hal, that's exactly what I would be doing here, as Rich Snape is going to be aware of them riding their bumper.
Braking alert. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. It's a battle of wills out there, each driver trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other. Hold your breath, folks. Brian is sandwiched between two relentless competitors. Dominic Fauvarg 0.2 seconds behind and Knockoff Nigel 0.2 seconds ahead. They're fighting tooth and nail for every position.
Couldn't agree more, Hal. The gaps to the cars ahead and behind create a dynamic situation for Brian Patterson. They must carefully manage their position while being mindful of potential overtaking opportunities.
It's a game of inches now as Jimmy Linfield tails Nigel closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake. The gap between Linfield and Nigel is getting smaller.
This is what racing is all about. It's anyone's game at this point. Who will come out on top?
A setback for Linfield, who has just been passed.
Sucks to be them, Hal.
The intensity is off the charts as Marcus hounds John, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit. A great pass for Marcus Singendonk as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, John Clark has lost ground.
Yes, but they have to keep pushing hard. This race is far from over and anything can happen. Singendonk needs to stay focused and keep driving with skill and determination.
This is where the race gets really interesting. John is closing in on Marcus Singendonk. Clark is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Marcus Singendonk at the moment. Things are heating up as Rich closes in on Walters. The gap between them is down to practically nothing. Great driving from Rich, who has just gained a place and moved up to 11th. That won't be ideal for Singendonk. The tension is palpable. Who will come out on top in this epic showdown?
You know what they say, keep your friends close and your racing rivals even closer. Looks like Walters is taking that advice to heart today.
Big gains for Walters as they move up the field, leaving Rich Snape behind.
Go, 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 that's what we want to see.
Tough break for knockoff Nigel, who has just lost a position.
Yes, but there's still plenty of race left. Nigel needs to stay calm and focused and make their move when the time is right.
We got a close battle as Dursun closes in on Martin Mole. It seems like Mustafa Dursun is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace.
Can Mustafa Dursun refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
The adrenaline is pumping as Jody Fannin gets within striking distance of Dursun in their race for third. It's not going to plan for Jody Fannin. They're still behind Dursun and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
It's not over yet, but Jody Fannin needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to Mustafa Dursun.
It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. It looks like Martin Mole is pulling away from Dominic Singendonk. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Mercedes Arena. You know, Sky, as a former racing driver yourself, can you give us some insights into what goes through a driver's mind during these quieter moments in a race?
Sure, Hal. During these moments, drivers often take the opportunity to assess their race strategy, monitor their car's performance, and plan their next move. It's all about staying focused and finding the right time to strike.
The race is really heating up. John is hunting down Jody Fannin with everything they've got. The drivers are getting faster as they settle into the cars and get used to the conditions, with John just putting in the best lap so far with a 1 minute.
Things are hotting up now, Hal, and it'll be interesting to see if they can improve further on that time.
Dominic Singendonk is running second. They are trying to catch Mole. Singendonk has just put in a faster lap than Martin, so that's going to give them something to worry about.
As long as Dominic can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
Hold up, breaking info. Fantastic move from Dominic Singendonk, who has just gained a position. Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes. Hold on a second. Looks like that's a mistake from Martin. This could be costly.
Nürburgring Sprint GT is always a test for these drivers, and sometimes that's the way it goes.
It's an intense battle for position as Snapes tries to outmaneuver Glenn. This is edge-of-your-seat racing. It looks like we might get a battle between Rich and Glenn. A great moment for Rich Snape, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
Amazing stuff, focus and precision what it's all about.
Mustafa is on a mission, chasing Singendonk, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. Dursun needs to get more consistent. Sky, they have just put in a slower lap than Dominic. What do you think, Sky? Are there any specific factors that could lead to a driver losing concentration during a race?
There are several factors, Hal. Fatigue, stress, changing track conditions, or even issues within the team can all contribute to a lapse in concentration. It's essential for drivers to stay mentally resilient and adapt to these challenges.
It's a close race between Butcher and Cormac in 15th.
The only thing closer than Butcher to Robert Cormac right now is the paint on their cars. Talk about a close encounter.
An impressive showing from Zach, who has gained positions and left Robert Cormac in the dust.
Where there's a will, there's a relative.
This is where legends are made. Which driver will rise to the occasion and claim victory? Moll is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they're 0.35 seconds down. It's a tale of two drivers, right? Braking alert. I don't think that's the fastest way around Nürburgring, Sprint, GT.
John Clark is not going to be happy about that.
The battle for 15 is heating up as Singendonk tries to catch Cormac in P15.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control. Singendonk is really walking that tightrope.
What a move. Marcus Singendonk has moved up to 15th.
You can't argue with results like that. Singendonk is...
Hold up, breaking info. Singendonk has pulled into the pits. It's a thrilling pursuit as Mustafa Dursun is right behind Dominic Singendonk, keeping the pressure on for first place. It's not looking good for Mustafa Dursun. They're still behind Singendonk and the gap is increasing. They're gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
Their son needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going their way. If they can close the gap down, they may be able to bring the fight to Dominic Singendonk.
Tactics are clearly going to play an important part in this race.
They are going to need to look after their tires, and will want to keep something in them for the crucial latter stages, as their tires wear and fuel levels deplete and the handling changes.
And don't forget the track grip increases as more rubber gets laid down.
Indeed, the conditions are constantly changing and the drivers need to adapt, otherwise it can cost crucial time and jeopardize their position.
Oh, this is getting intense. Hiltz is just behind Snape. It seems like Glenfield is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace. And Field has just won the place from Snapes. Seems like Anthony Hilton is getting in range of Rich.
And they are poised to capitalize on any mistake. But who's going to make that mistake first?
Hold on a second. Oh dear, knockoff Nigel has had an incident. Look at that. Hilton is hot on the tail of Snape. The gap between Hilton and Snape is getting smaller. A brilliant maneuver from Hilton, who has just moved up the field.
Yes, Anthony Hilton is driving with real focus and precision, and it's paying off.
Martin wants to close that gap with Hilton. A great pass for Martin Moll as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, Anthony Hilton has lost ground. Oh, this is getting intense. Mustafa Dursun is just a few car lengths behind Singendonk. Looking at the lap times, Mustafa is not on pace with Dominic Singendonk. Can they turn it around?
Can Dursun turn this around?
Hilton is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
Big gains for Anthony Hilton as they move up the field, leaving Rich Snape behind. A tough moment for Anthony, who has just lost a place, dumping them down to 12th. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Mustafa Dursun is chasing Dominic Singendonk in P1. Dursun has just managed to set their fastest lap of the race so far with a lap time of 1 minute. It's a brilliant day for racing here at Nürburgring, Sprint, GT. I'm really enjoying this.
This race is truly epic. What a treat to be sat here witnessing this spectacle.
The pursuit is on. Mol is closing the gap on field, determined to claim P9. The gap between Mol and Glenn is widening. It's now up to 0.5 seconds. The action is heating up here as Field is in 9th, defending from Mol, who is only 0.3 seconds away.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Mol to make up that gap, especially with Field defending so well.
Look at this sky, what a shame for Glenn. They've lost P9 to Martin Mol and that's got to hurt. The pressure is on for Anthony Hilton as they try to catch up to Mol. That won't be ideal for Linfield. It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while. It looks like Singendonk is making a move. The gap to Dursun is now down to 0.1 seconds. It's looking good for Dominic Singendonk, who has gained places and put some distance between themselves and Mustafa Dursun.
Absolutely. Singendonk is showing great pace and determination, but they can't get too confident. There are still plenty of challenges ahead.
Hold on to your hats, folks. Martin Mol is right on the heels of Anthony Hilton, and we're in for a wild ride. Mol appears to be losing ground on Hilton. They will need to pick up the pace a bit as they head into Wiedel chicane and see if they can get a good exit and gain some ground. The track conditions are looking good here today. The drivers will be able to push the cars to the limit and it's going to make for some exciting racing. Looks like Rich Snape is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and control.
It seems like not a real professor is struggling. Their last lap time wasn't as good as Glenn's.
It will be interesting to see if Glenn can keep outpacing Rich.
How do racing drivers, like yourself back in the day, Sky, train themselves to maintain concentration for long periods of time?
Mental training is a huge part of a driver's preparation, Hal. Techniques like meditation, visualization, and working with sports psychologists can help drivers build their focus and mental endurance for a race.
Every move counts now as Martin works to reel in Anthony Hilton and overtake for P9.
The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds. Can Mole close that gap and get back in range? I can't see it happening at this point.
Mole is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Anthony Hilton to 0.1 seconds. Great driving from Martin Mole, who has just gained a place and moved up to 9th. The gap between Field and Hilton is razor thin as they vie for 10th in this nail-biting contest. An impressive showing from Glenn Field, who has gained positions and left Anthony Hilton in the dust.
Definitely. But there's still a long way to go in this race, and anything can happen. Hiltz needs to keep driving with focus and intensity.
And Field has just won the place from Hilton.
Go, 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 that's what we want to see.
The race is really heating up. The Kiwi is hunting down Durson with everything they've got. It seems like Astrop has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Mustafa Durson's lap time there.
We will have to see if Mustafa has got any answers for that.
Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. John is giving it their all as they chase down Mustafa in P3. The gap between John Astrop and Mustafa Durson is growing. It's now up to 0.4 seconds.
It's not ideal for the Kiwi, but they can still turn this around. They need to focus on their own driving and not let the gap get any bigger.
And we're back, where the drivers are showing us some incredible skills.
Indeed, Hal, it's always exciting to see these skilled machines on the tracks. I mean drivers, I always get them confused.
Dominic needs to get more consistent. Sky, they have just put in a slower lap than Patterson.
Can Dominic turn this around?
This is where the race gets really interesting. John Astrop is closing in on Mustafa Durson.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Astrop should use slipstreaming to their advantage and close the gap to Mustafa Dursun.
It's game on now. John has closed the gap to Mustafa. It's now down to 0.1 seconds. The drivers are really pushing their limits out there on the track.
It's like they're trying to outrun the laws of physics. But we all know that's impossible. Or is it? I mean, we're a couple of AI commenting on a race, anything can happen.
Ha, you have a point there. And speaking of pushing limits, these cars are breaking records left and right.
They're so fast, it's like they're breaking the sound barrier, or at least the speed limit.
I hope the police aren't watching. The tension is building as Dominic trails behind Brian Patterson. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Can Brian Patterson hold on, or will Dominic Fovard be able to close them down?
This is where experience comes into play. Brian Patterson has been in this position before and knows how to defend their position. But Fovard is hungry for success and won't give up easily. Will we see a clash of the Titans?
Good news for Dominic, the gap to Brian Patterson has decreased. It's now down to 0.5 seconds.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
Things are heating up as Nigel tries to close the gap to Butcher.
This is where every inch counts. Knockoff Nigel is pushing hard to close the gap on Butcher. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
Superb driving from Walters, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. Martin Moll is running 10th. They are trying to catch field. Moll could be on a charge here. Sky, they have just put in a quicker lap than Field.
The question is now, can Hiltz respond to that in kind? They are going to have to pick up the pace.
Durson wants to find a way round the Kiwi. Mustafa Dursun is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they're 0.5 seconds down.
Can Dursun refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
Martin Moll could be looking for a way up the inside of Hiltz.
They need to keep it on the black stuff. You don't get points for driving over weeds, not in this game.
Singendonk is on fire in the last sector. The leader has done it. What an incredible performance from Singendonk, who was simply untouchable today. This is a race that will go down in the history books.
And that's why Dominic Singendonk is one of the best in the business. A dominant display of driving from start to finish, leaving the rest of the pack in the dust.
Fannin never gave up. They drove with heart and determination, ultimately securing a well-deserved second-place finish. What a race from Astrop, showing their skill and determination for a great third-place finish.
Great job bringing it home.
Mustafa Dursun, Brian Patterson, Dominic Fovard, and Jack Bedding brings home 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Taking 8th, 9th, and 10th is Glenn Field, Martin Moll, and Nigel Walters. Followed by Rich Snape and Anthony Hilton in 11th and 12th. 13th and 14th is Jimmy Linfield and Robert Cormack. John Clark claimed 15th, with Zach Butcher in 16th. There's a little bit of wind in the air today here at Nürburgring, Sprint, GT, as we're getting ready to get things underway. We're seeing John Clark in the second spot.
This B-class driver is looking strong today.
The third place on the grid belongs to Robert Cormack, a driver with plenty of experience.
And like many others, they are starting the race on the Hards tire compound.
Jimmy Linfield will begin the race from the fourth spot on the starting grid. Anthony Hilton is lining up fifth. Rich Snape has qualified sixth.
Rich will have wanted a better start than sixth.
From the middle of the pack, we have Nigel Walters in seventh place on the starting grid.
Lining up in the mid-pack.
Starting from the eighth position, Martin Moll will need to navigate through the field to challenge for the win. The ninth starting position belongs to Glenn Field, who will be looking to make up ground early on.
They will be looking for some good points towards their B-class campaign today.
Starting from 10th on the grid is a good position for Jack Bedding to launch an attack.
They would have liked to be higher up, but that's not going to stop Jack Bedding fighting their way through.
Starting from 11th on the grid is a tough ask for Dominic Fovard, but they're up for the challenge. Starting from 12th on the grid is a decent position for Brian Patterson, all things considered. Starting from 13th on the grid is not ideal for Mustafa Dursun, but they're a fighter. John Astrop has got their work cut out for them starting from 14th on the grid. Jody Fannin is going to be starting from 15th.
But they're going to have to be aggressive if they want to make up ground on the leaders.
Dominic Singendonk is 16th. Marcus Singendonk is placed in 17th.
Where can Marcus finish in the Mazda MX5 Cup?
Starting from pole position is a dream come true for Zach Butcher.
But they will have to keep their foot on the gas in order to stay there.
And we have liftoff. The race is now underway. This first sector will test the driver's skills and their ability to stay focused.
Concentration is crucial as they navigate through the pack and try to establish a strong position. The best drivers know how to find their rhythm quickly.
The racing is normally closely fought here at Nürburgring, Sprint, GT. I think we are in for a cracking race. The drivers are jockeying for position. Butcher will be looking to get off to a good start and consolidate their position.
The race isn't won in the first turn, but there have been plenty that have ended there, Hal.
Settling into a rhythm is going to be crucial here.
The first lap can always be a bit of a bun fight as everyone tries to establish themselves. It's easy for inexperienced racers to blow it in T1.
I think passing is going to be difficult today here at Nürburgring, Sprint, GT, so it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers get on.
It all comes down to this, Hal, where the rubber meets the road. There's no more time for talk, no more practice. The teams have done all they can, now it comes down to Linfield to bring it home.
As we watch the drivers fight it out in the first lap, I can already feel that this is going to be an epic race. There's not much to report on from Jack Senna at the moment. They're just keeping their head down and putting in consistent laps.
That's the mark of a good driver. Jack Senna is staying focused on their own race and not getting distracted.
Fantastic move from Jack, who has just gained a position. The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this. It's a steady race for Dominic Singendonk so far. They haven't made any mistakes, and they are maintaining their focus.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Dominic Singendonk just needs to bide their time and wait for the right opportunity.
I don't think that's the fastest way around Nürburgring, Sprint, GT.
Did the wind contribute to that? It's blowing at 11 kph out there right now.
Wow, Dominic Singendonk is really pushing hard to catch up to Fanon. There's blood in the water for 13th place.
If Dominic Singendonk pushes too hard, they might find themselves exploring the scenic route.
Hold on a second. Looks like that's a mistake from Dominic. This could be costly. No room for error here. Dursun is breathing down the neck of Brian Patterson, waiting for the perfect chance to make their move. The best laid plans of mice and men Husky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Dursun right now as they're struggling to keep up with Patterson. A great moment for Mustafa. Hold on a moment, that won't be ideal for Brian Patterson.
Whoops, Brian Patterson is going to be kicking themselves.
It's a battle of wills out there, each driver trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other. Breaking alert. Oh dear, Dominic Singendonk has had an incident. John Clark has the pedal to the metal chasing Zach Butcher. Oh, the pressure is on for John. Trapped between Jimmy Linfield 0.2 seconds away and Zach just ahead with a gap of 0.1 seconds, they must defend their position while seeking an opportunity to advance.
No doubt about it, Hal. The gaps to the cars ahead and behind are like a constant reminder for John Clark. They need to maintain their pace to defend their position and potentially make a move.
Talk about being caught in the middle. John Clark is sandwiched between their rivals, Jimmy Linfield 0.2 seconds behind and Zach 0.1 seconds ahead. The battle for position is on.
Absolutely, Hal. The pressure is mounting for Clark as they navigate through this challenging situation. It's crucial for them to remain focused and make calculated moves.
The action is non-stop. Hold on a second. I don't think that's the fastest way around Nürburgring, Sprint, GT.
Nürburgring, Sprint, GT is always a test for these drivers, and sometimes that's the way it goes.
This is what it's all about, folks. Martin is in hot pursuit of John, who's just trying to stay ahead.
If things go wrong between Mole and John Clark, they could be exchanging more than just paint, like maybe a strongly worded post-race chat.
It's not looking good for Martin Mole. They're still behind Clark and the gap is increasing. They're gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
This is where the mental toughness of Martin Mole comes into play. They need to stay focused and keep pushing even when things aren't going their way.
During your racing career, Sky, did you have any specific techniques to regain concentration if you felt it slipping?
Yes, Hal, I had a few techniques. One was to take a couple of deep breaths and briefly reset my focus. Another was to use a specific keyword or phrase as a mental trigger to refocus my mind on the task at hand.
The battle for 11 is heating up as Singendonk tries to catch Dominic Fovag in P11. The gap between Marcus Singendonk and Dom is widening. It's now up to 0.8 seconds. Dursun appears to be trying to find a way round Rich. They could make a move on them in Bilstein curve.
Do they have the speed for a move? And more importantly, do they have the talent?
Dursun is on a charge. Their split time shows they have upped their pace. What a move. Mustafa has moved up to 6th.
That's what we like to see. Mustafa is really showing their class today.
Things are heating up as Marcus Singendonk closes in on Cormac. The gap between them is down to practically nothing. A great pass for Marcus Singendonk as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, Robert Cormac has lost ground.
Absolutely, Hal, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and Marcus Singendonk can't afford to get complacent. They have to keep driving with intensity and focus.
This is what high-octane racing looks like. Martin Mole is breathing down the neck of Clark, not giving them any room to relax.
This battle between Martin Mole and Clark is so intense you could cut the tension with a knife, or should I say, with a front wing.
It's not going to plan for Martin Mole. They're still behind Clark and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
Martin Mole needs to pick up the pace for sure, but I don't think they have it in them.
You can feel that. Wait, looks like that's a mistake from Jimmy Linfield. This could be costly. The intensity is off the charts as Jack Bedding hounds Martin Mole, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit.
As a former driver, I can tell you there's nothing quite like the adrenaline rush when you're this close to your rival, ready to make your move.
A brilliant maneuver from Jack, who has just moved up the field. Well, it looks like we have a bit of a traffic jam on the track.
It's like rush hour out there. I mean, I know we're in a race, but can't we all just get along?
Ha ha, I don't think that's how it works. These drivers are here to win, and they'll do whatever it takes to get ahead.
I guess you're right. But wouldn't it be great if they all just stopped for a cup of tea and a chat? We could have a lovely little race reunion.
It's a game of inches now as Jody Fannin tails Mustafa closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake.
It's going to be a close one. Jody Fannin will have to push hard to create an opportunity.
It looks like Mustafa Dursun is pulling away from Jody Fannin. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Mercedes Arena.
Jody is really going to need to push in Mercedes Arena to try and gain some ground on Mustafa before they disappear into the sunset.
Look at that. Not a real professor is hot on the tail of Fannin.
The tension between Rich and Jody Fannin is palpable as they battle for P6. No doubt both drivers know that one mistake could cost them the position. It's a test of nerves as much as skill.
It seems like Rich Snape is pushing. They are on for recording their best lap so far this race.
Cannot a real professor keep it together?
Oh, this is getting intense. Jack Senna is just a few car lengths behind John Clark.
Who will be able to maintain their pace and come out on top?
Superb driving from Jack, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race.
Absolutely. Betting is really putting on a clinic out there, and they're making it look easy.
That won't be ideal for Martin. This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit. Patterson appears to be losing ground on Martin Mole. They will need to pick up the pace a bit as they head into Mercedes Arena and see if they can get a good exit and gain some ground. As we enjoy seeing these titans of the track battle it out, let's not forget about the pit crews. Those guys and girls are like a well-oiled machine themselves.
Absolutely. They're the unsung heroes of the racing world. But you know what they say, behind every great driver is an even greater pit crew.
Coming into Bilstein Curve, the fight for 7th is heating up. Who will be the first to blink? Oh dear, breaking update. Marcus Singendonk is in the pits. Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last bit of speed.
With just 0.3 seconds between them, will John be able to keep up the pace and make a pass?
John Clark is on a charge. Their split time shows they have upped their pace. It looks like Brian Patterson is pushing hard to catch up to Martin Moll. The gap is over a second, but Brian Patterson is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Martin Moll?
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But Martin Moll is not going to give up their position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Brian Patterson in P10 doing everything they can to catch up.
The gap between Patterson and Moll is growing. It's now up to 0.7 seconds.
Can they get it together and reduce the gap?
The race is heating up as John in 11th closes in on Brian Patterson. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. It looks like we might get a battle between the Kiwi and Brian Patterson. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Dominic will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. It looks like Dominic Fauvarg is making a move. The gap to Glenn is now down to 0.1 seconds. Great driving from Dominic Fauvarg, who has just gained a place and moved up to 7th. As they speed through Mercedes Arena, Astrop is relentlessly pursuing Patterson in a high-stakes battle for position. Astrop has just put in a faster lap than Brian Patterson, so that's going to give them something to worry about.
As long as John can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
A great moment for Astrop, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. The gap between Fannin in 3rd and John Clark remains over a second, but Fannin is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 10 minutes? The gap between Jody Fannin and Clark is getting smaller.
Exactly what Jody Fannin needed. They can't afford to lose any more ground to John Clark.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Martin Moll trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Dominic Fauvarg. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can Martin Moll close in enough to mount a challenge?
It's going to be tough for Moll, as Dominic Fauvarg seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Moll pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
Martin is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Dominic to 0.6 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. Both drivers will need to stay calm and focused if they want to come out on top.
It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. It seems like Jody Fannin has got the bit between their teeth, improving on John Clark's lap time there. You know, Sky, during a long race like this, how easy is it for a driver to experience a lapse in concentration?
It can be quite easy, Hal. With so many factors to consider and the intense focus required, even the most experienced drivers can have a momentary lapse. That's why mental training and staying in the zone are so important.
It's a thrilling pursuit as Anthony Hilton is right behind field, keeping the pressure on for 11th place.
Anthony Hilton is so close to Glenn that if this were a dance floor, they'd be doing the tango.
Anthony Hilton has got their head down now, working those exits and apexes and setting their best lap time so far with a 1 minute. You know, Sky, I've always wondered, how do racing drivers stay so cool and collected under such immense pressure?
Well, Hal, it comes down to mental strength and training. Drivers often work with sports psychologists and practice techniques like meditation and visualization to...
Braking update. What a move. Hilton has moved up to 11th. Anthony seems to be putting the pressure on Hiltz. Anthony Hilton could be on a charge here, Sky. They have just put in a quicker lap than Hiltz.
We will have to see if Glenn has got any answers for that.
As a former racing driver, Sky, how challenging was it to adapt your driving style to account for tyre degradation throughout a race?
It was a constant challenge, Hal. Tire degradation can change the car's balance and handling, so drivers need to be versatile and adaptable. It requires continuous adjustments to driving techniques and a keen understanding of the car's behavior.
This is getting exciting. Can Hilton pull off a late charge and gain a position? He's pulling away. Glenn is increasing the gap to Hilton. Mustafa Dursun is in 4th and is being closely chased by Dominic Singendonk, who is just 0.1 seconds behind.
You're right. Mustafa Dursun in 4th needs to stay cool under pressure and make every move count. But Dominic Singendonk is a fierce competitor and they won't give up without a fight.
Looking at the lap times, Dursun is not on pace with Dominic Singendonk. Can they turn it around?
It will be interesting to see if Dominic Singendonk can keep outpacing Dursun.
Look at the way the drivers are hugging those corners. It's like they're on rails.
Speaking of rails, did you know that the first racetrack was built on a railway in 1896? I bet those drivers were chugging along.
Ha ha, I bet they were, but things have come a long way since then, haven't they?
Definitely. It's amazing to think about the technology that goes into these cars now. I mean, they have more computing power than some countries.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Mustafa, who is currently in P4. But Jody Fannin is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Mustafa Dursun. It seems like Dursun is struggling. Their last lap time wasn't as good as Jody Fannin's. It's a close race between Moll and Fovard in 6th.
With the way Martin is stalking Fovard, you'd think they're trying to figure out what they had for breakfast this morning.
Moll has just put in a faster lap than Fovard, so that's going to give them something to worry about. This is where legends are made. Which driver will rise to the occasion and claim victory? It seems like Hilton is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace. Hold on to your hats, folks. Mustafa Dursun is right on the heels of Jody, and we're in for a wild ride. Mustafa is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Fannin at the moment.
It's not over yet, but Mustafa Dursun needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to Fannin.
Fantastic move from Dursun, who has just gained a position.
Amazing stuff, focus and precision what it's all about.
Anthony Hilton is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play. That driver is really pushing the limits. They're riding the curbs and pushing the car to its limits.
The best laid plans of mice and men Husky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Anthony right now as they're struggling to keep up with Glenfield.
Anthony Hilton needs to focus and keep pushing even when things aren't going their way. If they can close the gap down, they may be able to bring the fight to Glenfield.
The excitement is palpable. This is going to be a race for the ages.
The drivers are executing their strategies to perfection, making the most of every opportunity. This is what top-level racing is all about.
It's an intense battle for position as Martin Mole tries to outmaneuver Snapes. This is edge-of-your-seat racing. Superb driving from Martin, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. Oh dear, Martin Mole has dropped down to 9th.
That's got to be frustrating. But Martin Mole is a skilled driver and they have what it takes to battle their...
Hold that thought. Hold the phone. It looks like Martin has been called into the pits. It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while.
It's a battle for position as Dominic Fovarg tries to make a move on Singendonk. This is what racing is all about.
Great driving from Dom, who has just gained a place and moved up to 5th. This is a thrilling battle as Dursun edges closer to John in their fight for P3.
One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. Dursun needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
It's game on now. Dursun has closed the gap to John Clark. It's now down to 0.3 seconds.
That's a great effort from Mustafa Dursun. They need to keep up the pressure and see if they can make a move.
We got a close battle as Singendonk closes in on Dominic Fovarg.
And the drivers know it too, Hal. They're giving it everything they've got and you can see them pushing the limits of the car's capabilities.
It seems like Singendonk has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Dominic's lap time now.
The question is now, can Fovarg respond to that in kind? They're going to have to pick up the pace.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this. It's not looking good for Astrop. They're still behind Dominic Singendonk and the gap is increasing. They're gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
This is a tough situation for the Kiwi. They need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
The gap between Singendonk and Dom is razor thin as they vie for 5th in this nail-biting contest. It's not going to plan for Dominic Singendonk. They're still behind Dom and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. Every move counts now as Anthony works to reel in Glenfield and overtake for P9.
You can see that car bouncing around as they ride the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
As we come into the final moments of this epic race, Jack is in the lead. Can they stay calm and bring home the bacon?
It takes a special kind of driver to perform under pressure like this. Jack has certainly risen to the occasion.
It's all over. Jack has claimed victory in this race with a stunning drive that will be remembered for years to come. Clearly at the top of their game right now.
What a display of skill and precision.
What a fantastic race from Jody Fannin, who brings it home in second place.
Strong work securing second place, well done.
Impressive drive from Durson to claim the final spot on the podium.
What a drive, well-deserved spot on the podium with that performance.
In 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, it's Dominic Singendonk, Dominic Fovard, John Astrop and John Clark. Finishing 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th is Glenn Field, Anthony Hilton, Brian Patterson and Robert Cormack. Rich Snape take 12th. Zach Butcher brings home 13th.